All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As you all know, the Louisiana legislature is in its first special session of the year, and they went into session at the request of Insurance Commissioner Jim Donnellan. Commissioner Donnellan has asked that at least $45 million be directed to the Insure Louisiana incentive program aimed at bringing property insurers to the state. Today, we're joined by Senator Kirk Talbot, who's chairman of the Insurance Committee, and he's going to visit with you about this special session. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat and we will try to answer them if possible. If not, we will try to get you the answers at a later date. So with that, I will hand it over to Senator Talbot, who's a busy man joining us from the side of the road somewhere. So thank you.
Thank you, Cam. Y'all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, so basically what we're doing is we're replicating a successful program that the legislature did. I wasn't there at the time, but that the legislature did under Kathleen Blake's leadership that incentivized, it was in the post-Katrina environment, which is very similar to what we have now. We had companies, some companies that had failed, some companies that had pulled out, some companies that had stopped writing. We had a very stressed market. We had, Citizens, which is the insurer of last resort, had tripled its policy count, kind of like we are now. And we were trying, the reason to do the incentive program was twofold. One was to get people out of Citizens, to get them a cheaper, more competitive.
Wait.
Prices and kind of get us on that path.
Senator Talbot, has everybody been able to hear Senator Talbot? Okay, because I think you were talking on my phone rather than on the Zoom, but you're good now. Sorry.
I'm good. Okay, so anyway, we're going to replicate the successful incentive program that Kathleen Blake did after Katrina. Similar situation is what we have now, with the stressed insurance market. I will say that the difference between that environment then and now is the state of reinsurance. Reinsurance is a term many of you may not be familiar with, or maybe. It is the insurance that insurance companies buy to make themselves solvent and to, just give them the surplus and the ability to pay claims and to withstand natural catastrophes like hurricanes. The reason why the reinsurance market is so super stressed, first off, it's a global market. It's mainly companies out of Bermuda, Lloyd's of London, all around the world. We're kind of all in it together kind of thing. Events on the international market, wildfires in California, wildfires in Australia, flooding in Germany, which is a private market, not a government-funded market we have here, and the hurricanes in the U.S. have super stressed the reinsurance market. On top of that, interest rates have gone up and have really stressed the reinsurance market. Venture capitalists, people looking to invest money, used to invest money in reinsurance companies with a good way to your investment. Now it's all these.
Senator Talbot, you're going in and out a little bit.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Better?
Yes, thank you. Yes, better. But Senator Talbot, I think now you're muted.
All right.
There we go. Unmute. Now you're muted again. Technology, huh?
It's nothing I'm doing. It's just making me.
Yeah, there you go. You're good.
All right. Let's see if we can talk now. This special session is to fund the incentive fund that we recreated last year. As Jim Donnellan has said, we tried to get the money last year. It fell on deaf ears. I distinctly remember him in the finance committee with 4 other people that had, good projects that they wanted funded. And we were told, that money is just not available. So that's why we're here now. The reason why the timing of the special session is so important is twofold. One, the reinsurance cycle starts January 1st with the start of hurricane season. So there's a limited amount of reinsurance to buy. So we want to make sure these companies sign up all these policies in order to buy it, so they have the ability to buy enough reinsurance to reinsure them. The last thing we want to do is incentivize companies that are under reinsured, and then they won't be able to pay their claims and to withstand a catastrophe. Second thing is we want to get people out of Citizens so they don't get the 63% increase, which by law has to happen. And for the ones that do, I think there were 10,000 that saw that 63% increase in January. They can, as soon as we get them out, they can renew and get the cheaper premium. So those are the reasons why we're doing the special session now, is the timing on the reinsurance and trying to get people out of Citizens before they get renewed, and get that 63% increase. Also, as what happened with Katrina and the incentive fund, then it stabilized the market. For 7 years after Katrina, premiums only rose 1% a year. That's less than the CPI. After that, it ticked up a little bit, 2 or 3% here and there. So for 14, 15 years, we had a very, very stable market until we had Delta, Zeta, Laura, and Ida the last 2 years, which kind of put everything in a flux to where we are now. Couple of things in anticipating questions y'all might have. This does apply to commercial insurance as well. Commercial insurance is way more stressed than the private market. So that money will be available for companies that write policies on the commercial level. During the first incentive program, we had about 5 companies that took out about $29 million. We put $45 million in this year because basically that's $29 million with the CPI. There's about 9 or 10 companies very, very interested in coming, which is a good sign. I think we'll blow through the first $29 million between now and the end of the fiscal year. There's always the opportunity in the regular session or in the next 5 subsequent years. This is a 5-year program, so there is an ability to add more money if the legislature so chooses to do so. So that being said, that's kind of where we are right now. There's all kind of safeguards and monitoring, even increased from the last incentive fund, to make sure these companies are sound. Of the 5 companies that got money last time, 3 of them are still writing policies today. 1 of them pulled out of Louisiana in 2017 for whatever reason. They did not go insolvent. The 5th company went insolvent because of their home bases in Florida. Florida is a crisis, if you can imagine, even 10 times worse than ours. They went out of business because of things that happened to them in Florida, not anything that happened to them in Louisiana, not anything in the result of anything that happened in Louisiana. So I firmly believe, and I think the facts are there to support it, that the program was very successful in Katrina. It got out tens of thousands of people out of Citizens, stabilized the market. And furthermore, what I've learned about the insurance world, and I'm not in insurance business, I'm in the food business. They have a herd mentality, insurance companies do, on leaving and coming to states. In other words, when they leave a state, they leave in a group. When they come back to an area where they've previously been gone, they kind of come back in a group. And the way we had a lot of companies come back after Katrina, it was kicked off by the 5 companies that took the incentive money and started writing policies. These other companies, about 10 or 12 or 14 of them, saw these 5 companies making money. They got comfortable with the fact that they were writing policies here, so they all piled on and started doing it. Now we have double the amount of companies that are looking for incentive money, and I do believe other companies will follow suit, and the market will stabilize as it did 14 years ago. That is kind of the long and short of it, Kim. And I know y'all have some questions, and I'd be happy to answer it.
Senator Talbot. Our first question is, what are the differences of these incentives from those that were offered to insurance companies after Katrina?
Same incentive. They, they have to, you mean as far as like the dollar amount and what they have to do? Same incentive. They have to take 50% out of the 37 coastal parishes. If a company, you can get a $2 to $10 million award. Let's say a company gets a $5 million award. They have to put up $5 million. They have to write double the amount of premium for 5 years. So that's $20 million over 5 years. If they don't do that, that money is in an escrow separate account. They have to pledge that back to the state and the $5 million that they have to in case they go insolvent. So you can claw back money that is not used. But I think the main important thing is there is more oversight and more monitoring on their solvency than was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, we have all those things in place, and the legislative auditor just came out with their report stating that the reinsurance levels, the surplus monitoring, everything that the Department of Insurance has been doing up until a year ago was met all the industry best practice standards. What Donilon has decided to do a year ago was go beyond that and hire a private company to monthly monitor their reinsurance and surplus levels. So he's going above and beyond what is required and what is expected.
Okay, great. And for everybody who can see their screen, I've put up the bill, and you'll see page 1 of up at the top, there's all sorts of things that have been put in the bill about financial stability ratings, monitoring, and model stress catastrophic stress tests. So you can see that they've added a lot of belts and suspenders to this program. Lessons learned, right?
Right, that's right. That's absolutely right.
Great. And then our next question was, when should, if this passes and is signed by the governor, when should consumers start to see some relief on the price of their property insurance? Or what are we expecting possibly?
So they should have the money, assuming everything passes the next 3 days, that the money will be to the insurance companies in March. If you look at what happened 15 years ago, 40,000 policies came out of Citizens by June 1st of that year. I just heard the commissioner say he anticipates at least that by the end of this fiscal session. Now, the commissioner and I don't either. They don't promise anything like how much reduced you're going to get, how much premium. But if they come out of Citizens, they're already paying 10% higher than the highest policies in the state. So obviously, if they go into the private sector, it's going to be less. But I mean, I can't tell you a percentage, what that least amount will be. But I guess the answer to the question would be, hopefully by the end of this fiscal year, we can get them out of there.
The new
June
fiscal
1st.
year starts July 1st. Yeah.
I mean, July 1st. I'm sorry, July 1st.
Okay, thanks, Senator Talbot. There's a couple more questions here.
Sure.
Will there be a minimum of quantity of policies these companies have to being offered incentives to come to Louisiana? How many do they have to issue?
It's all about how much money you apply for with the grant. So again, let's say you get a $5 million, you apply for a $5 million grant. That's $5 million. You have to put up $5 million, and then you have to double that and write $20 million worth of premium. So $20 million divided by the $6,000, which is the average Citizens premium, you can do the math and figure that out. But it's all based on how much money you get in the grant on how many premiums you write.
Okay. The next question was, will all areas in parishes be included by these insurance companies? And specifically, what about Terrebonne and Lafourche?
So 50% of the policies have to be written in the 37 go zone parishes, which are basically the 37 coastal parishes and the ones right above that. That's a great question, because a lot of people say, why don't we mandate that they write them all out of that? We don't want insurance companies clustering all their risk in those areas. So you don't want to mandate that. However, the vast majority of Citizens policies are in the 37 go zone parishes. So that's going to take care of itself. There are some Citizens policies around the state, and you want these companies to write policies up in North Louisiana to offset their risk. in those coastal areas. But I believe the vast majority of these policies are going to come out of the 37 GO zone parishes.
Okay, great. See, our next question is, are there any incentives or rewards for the companies that have stayed in Louisiana?
I'm told by the department that they are going to show preference to those type of companies.
Okay, let's see, is anything being done for commercial insurance?
Commercial insurance is included in this incentive fund. Hopefully, that is what will happen, and you'll have insurance companies offer commercial policies, that incentive fund. So yes, it is included. I can't tell you what they're going to do, but it is included.
Okay, that's all the questions. Well, let's see. Does anything in this bill address the lack of response when disasters take place?
Great question. So if you look at what, we heard a lot of those complaints over the last 2 years. And last session, we had a flurry of insurance bills filed that were all dealing with that very subject. So what we did, and I'll just touch on a few of them, we had the 3 adjuster rule, which is a bill that I did. We got a lot of complaints about, I had 9 adjusters, I had 12 adjusters. I had to, every time I got a new adjuster, I had to start the whole process over again and explain to that person what was going on. First, let me lay the environment, what was going on last year. As a business owner, I can tell you COVID was horrific. Horrific for me, finding employees, retaining employees. I'm still having a problem doing that. That was not immune to adjusters as well. You had adjusters, insurance companies don't hire 400 or 500 adjusters to sit around and wait for a storm. They have adjusters that are they're like rolling cowboys. They're like nomads. They travel around the country and they handle storms. When COVID hit, they got COVID too. Their families got COVID too. They got offered online jobs. I heard Amazon took a lot of adjusters out of the pool. So it was already a super stressed market. My bill said that, and it was modeled after legislation in California. If you have 3 or more adjusters in a 6-month period, the insurance company has to give you a summation of your claim, the status of your claim, one person, one contact for your claim, and that person is your point of contact moving forward. So we addressed that issue. I also did a bill that, along with Chairman Hubal from the House, that mandates that insurance companies provide a condensed, layman's terms, 1-page form that walks you through the entire claims process. And the insurance industry, Department of Insurance already does that, but now we're putting it in their policy. So it walks you through the whole flow chart, how to complain if you think you're being being abused or your claim is not being paid timely, how your deductible works, how to do this, how to do that. We also had a bill that mandated that insurance companies have to file a catastrophe plan. If we have 4 storms in 2 years, where are you going to find the adjusters? Where are they going to sleep? Where are they going to eat? How are you going to pay? How are you going to handle all these claims? So there was a number of other bills that all did those same things, but they were all good bills, policy-driven bills, handling that very subject.
Okay, we have a couple of questions about condos. I'm going to throw them out there, Senator Talbot, but it may be something that we need to handle on another call. One of these questions is, what do we do as a condo association if we can only get reasonable wind and hail coverage for 2.5 million, but the appraised value is 15 million? What is our liability? What are the options if no reasonable insurance is available?
That would be a question for Jim Donlan and his deputy commissioner on P&C. That's kind of over my head. I mean, I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah. Our next one is similar, but I'll throw it out there. Our condo insurance went from $18,000 annually in Natchitoches to $48,000 annually. That's half our budget. We were dropped after a $600,000 insurance claim. And I think some of this is showing you what's going on, Senator Talbot and everybody on the call, that it's not just in South Louisiana. It's not just personal homes, but it's north of I-10 also. And it's the commercial, as we've had questions about that, the residential and the property managers, that this is such an invasive issue, and it's very difficult for the real estate market.
Well, let me touch on a couple of things. There's 2 national studies that just came out that showed that the vast majority of properties in our country, and Louisiana was part of that, were underinsured. And in other words, I think the number was 60-something% of properties were underinsured on an average of 60-something%. What's also driving another 10 or 12% on top of that is the rate of inflation. In other words, if you insured a house and you're insuring replace value of the roof of the house, with the drastic rate of inflation and the cost of goods going up, they were underinsured. And these insurance companies know that, and they got burned by that. When they had to replace the wood and the tiles and the shingles and the sheetrock, all those prices had gone up, on top of the fact that they found out they really were uninsured. And the reason why they were underinsured is because a lot of times the agent lowers the insured value to get the premium down, so as to help the homeowner, which helps the homeowner in the short run, but really doesn't help the homeowner when they need to get their home fixed. So insurance companies are correcting that and recalibrating those rates. We just saw a case with Citizens where there was a home, they had no claim, no nothing, but when the Citizens came out to inspect the home, they found out that they were underinsured by 40%, so their premium went up. So it's a lot of things. It's kind of like the perfect storm in a bad way. We just have a lot of things that are going against us right now, not to mention the whole flood insurance program, which is a federal program, which is completely terrible the way they're doing things. And I know our congressional delegation is fighting that tooth and nail, but that coupled with interest rates makes it almost an impossible situation, which is more prevalent why we need to do this special session and stabilize this market. But that's just some of the examples of why you're seeing rates go up for no reason at all when we had no claim and we had no reason why the rates should go up.
Okay, we have some more questions. They're about LIGA. What is being done to expedite when LIGA takes over claims and you have delay after delay? And I'll go ahead and ask the next one. Many in our parishes are still waiting on LIGA to pay or respond back. Who can complaints be filed when there are against adjusters for LIGA? We're told there's nobody to complain to.
That I don't know about. I would be shocked if there was no one to complain to. But, the LIGA question is a question for John Wells, their CEO. I can tell you this because we had him testify in front of a joint House and Senate Insurance Committee meeting. LIGA went from 30 or 40 employees last fall to about 700. It's gone insolvent. They're literally to an office with no papers, empty boxes, and empty desks. So they have to put together all the pieces, rebuild that company. And I know it's frustrating, and I know it's a tedious process, and they know they can do a better job. And I hope that they tell us that they're trying to do a better job. But again, they can't hire 500 or 600 employees to wait around to have 4 storms in 2 years. That's just the nature of the beast. LIGA is working, and I'm told that it's getting better and that they're hiring more people. But just like John Wells told me, they're having an extremely difficult time hiring people to handle claims, just like everybody is in all levels of business. So I know that's not probably an answer you want to hear, but that's just kind of where we are right now. I would call the Department of Insurance and ask them how they can file complaints against LIGA and people that are handling their claims. I'm 99% sure that someone there can put you in the right direction. I'd be shocked if there's nowhere to file a complaint. I just don't think that's accurate.
And Sharon and Cynthia, we'll ask around about that and get you that information. The next question we have is, when are they voting on this?
So it's on the House floor today. It should pass, I believe it will. It'll go to the Senate committee Thursday, and Senate floor pass it Friday, and we're done. If we have to go till Sunday, we can go till Sunday, but I believe that we're gonna, this thing will be over Friday.
And that's simply the funding of the Insure Louisiana Incentive Program. And then Commissioner Connell and his staff will have a lot of work to do if this happens.
They will send out notices for intent on Monday. Companies will have 30 days to respond. They'll have 8 days to process the things, the applications, and they will have the money in the hands of the insurance companies by I believe, beginning of March.
See, there was a question, is there a way to know which companies take advantage of the program?
Everything's public and transparent. So yes, once those companies sign up, that's all public record. If you want to listen to the testimony of, it'll probably be in the paper, but the chief of staff for Department of Insurance, I believe, read a list of 9 or 10 names in the House committee meeting yesterday, because she has their emails and letters of intent. Most of them are regional companies, as many of y'all probably know. The big companies, they just don't want to come here. They don't need to write wind and hail to make money. The Geicos, the Progressives, the State Farms. So mainly you're looking at regional companies like SafePoint that y'all may have heard from because of the business you're in, but the average person hasn't heard from. But that's just the nature of the beast. Hopefully we can attract some of the big companies to come back, but they're very gun shy to write policies in coastal parishes and coastal states for that matter.
Okay. There were 2 questions. Is there a way to know which companies take, where will these companies be posted for the public to find? I'm assuming on the Department of Insurance website, and we'll also post some information.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. And I would think that the media will report those companies as that money is awarded.
And this is assuming all of this passes in the next couple of days.
Yes, I believe it will.
So, all right, we're coming up on 1:30. We appreciate all of you being here, and please don't hesitate to ask any questions, to email us, info@larealtors.org. And we thank Senator Talbot for joining us today. We know he's very busy with special session and his real life of Lucky Dog hot dogs, which I'm sure we'll enjoy this weekend while we're down there for the Learning to Lead conference, which
Great, good.
to register for if you're interested.
All right. Okay, I may do that.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Kim. And any other questions, just shoot me an email. I'll do my best to answer.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll keep you updated.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.